This 17-year-old is making over $60,000 a month with his in-person mobile detailing company and online inner circle. His name is Hudson Archer, and nearly about 12 months ago, he almost lost everything, but now he's expanding his business on a multi-city scale. Today, we sat down and talked about his journey, being so focused, and what it takes to be in the top 1% while being a teenager. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another podcast. Today, we got the boy, Hudson. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. We're out here in Scottsdale. Hudson's in town hosting his mastermind at a young 17 years old. So I wanted to have him on. He's doing very, very well for his age and helping other young guys make money online and in person. So, Hudson, for anybody that doesn't know you, do an intro and let them know.
Yeah, for sure. So 17 now, actually turning 18 next week. So as soon as this goes live, I'll be an adult. But that being said, at 15, I started a mobile detailing business just to start business, just to get into entrepreneurship. It's $500 startup cost. And I kind of realized after about a year and a half of business there that there was so much leverage online. I was looking up to a lot of these people that had info products, running agencies, any of these online businesses. And I realized that there was such an in to transition from the skills that I had early on from $500 detailing business into online business. So now I run a coaching community for detailers, showing them how to go from literally $500 to potentially $100,000, $200,000 a year, which is pretty simple, just washing cars.
That's wild too, because through my own background, everybody that I know for the most part is into online businesses from the get-go, right? You have an interesting stance and upbringing of doing an in-person business, then pivoting to online. So that was one of my first questions, even jumping into this. How old were you when you got into entrepreneurship and wanting to be a business owner, and what allowed you to stay focused to achieve your goals?
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, we can trace it back to being young. Everybody that makes some sort of money usually says, hey, when I was in school, I was selling candy or selling trading cards, baseball cards, whatever it was. So I was obviously involved in things like that. But it wasn't until I was 15 that I had some friends that were doing homeschool. So I was like, hey, let's give this a shot. I want to try entrepreneurship. And if I, for whatever reason, fall flat on my face, I'll just go back to in-person school. But let me get some of my time opened up, got some supplies early on, $500 worth of detailing supplies, and started going door to door, just getting clients. So that's how I started. And it was a solid 8 months until I even took off, right? I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know anything early on.
That's the learning curve right there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, I want to ask you this. You're going door to door at 15 and 16. Were you being disrespected often or having people not take you seriously?
But no one booked, bro.
Yeah.
Like, not at all. No. I printed like a couple $1,000s worth of flyers and went door to door and just like, yo, if I can convert even 10% of my 2,000 flyers at, $150 a detail, I'll have, this amount of money. And I just was so excited about it. And then, weeks and weeks go by of knocking, leaving stuff, absolutely nothing. And it wasn't until I discovered, hey, you actually have to position yourself in the flow of the marketplace through things like, online marketing, digital marketing, these sorts of things, that I actually made a breakthrough. And that just came by reaching out to friends and family that knew how to do that sort of thing and paying them for their services.
Okay, so you went and tried doing the brute force work of door to door. It didn't work, so you were like, okay, I have to pivot and do something else that's actually going to work, right?
Exactly.
And that's when you started working with and connecting with people in your family, friends, and stuff like this. How old were you, and how quickly did you realize how important a personal brand is?
So nothing really started to pick up until I was, 16, almost 17. So I'm probably about a year and a half into actually, doing well, what I define, maybe 10, 15,000 a month and beyond. And now obviously we're sitting way beyond that. But when I got into personal brand was funny enough, in 2023, February timeline, I was in an online community I was paying $50 a month for. And they had a guest, Jordan Welsh, who came on, big e-commerce guy on YouTube, million plus. And it was a $50 a month community. So the kinds of people that are buying a $50 a month community are very low quality, right? As someone that runs an info product, the higher you charge, the higher ticket, the better quality people you attract. Networking with other low-level individuals you're not networking, you're just bumming around. Yep. But that being said, Jordan Welsh came on as a guest speaker for one of the sessions, and everyone was too afraid to ask him questions. So I just took it as an opportunity to have a one-on-one session for an hour with some guy that I just really looked up to. So we went for, about 45 minutes going back and forth, told him, hey, I'm in this situation, doing about $5,000 a month detailing at 16. What do you recommend I do? And he said something that literally changed my life. It was, get extremely good at what you're doing right now, and then teach other people how to do it once you've achieved some level of baseline success that other people desire. In order to teach someone else how to do something, you must first have a desirable outcome. And initially I thought, well, I have to be a multimillionaire with mobile detailing in order to teach other people how to do it. But then you realize that the average person's life would literally change with $10,000 a month. That would change the average person's life. It's absolutely groundbreaking. And with something like detailing, $500 startup cost, monthly costs are anywhere from, you could run it as lean as $1,000 a month. Really only have to do 10 details a week to pocket $10,000 a month by yourself. And I realized that was something that a lot of people didn't know how to do. As I was making YouTube videos, people would hit me up in the DMs, yo bro, how do I do this? And I started, consulting people for free. And then as following grew and grew and grew, I was like, why don't I take this into a legit business? Why don't I just, instead of offering coaching services for $100 an hour, why don't I build out an ecosystem that actually allows people to thrive in this industry? And that's where we're at now.
That was that just shows you too, when you take the risk or go outside of your comfort zone, when everybody else is kind of scared, but you step up, you're going to get that edge and get that access to information that everybody else is afraid to ask for because they feel like they're not worthy or quality enough to ask for it. So you were like going in there with a desired outcome, not afraid to ask Jordan Welsh, who you probably view, like you said, as somebody you looked up to.
Oh yeah, way beyond me.
Yeah, so was that your first introduction to understanding I have to become an authority figure to build an ecosystem, build a product online where people can look up to me next?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was following for a long time a lot of these guys, your Iman Gadzhi, your Luke Belmar, all of these people, right? And I just idolized them. I mean, I'm detailing for 8-10 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday as well, just feeding my mind. I understood early on that the only way that you can reach the next level is through next level information. And at that point, I'd left school. I was just doing online, some classes using GPT. It took me 2 hours a week to do my school. That stuff is bullshit. So yeah, next level information was super important. And then I realized that potentially the best skill set to have as you want to reach higher leverage scenarios is the ability to formulate and communicate one's thoughts effectively. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned from everyone in the space.
It's communication.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can do anything if you can communicate well. I mean, you look at all of these figures that have overthrown governments and done terrible things in the past, or, amazing things, all these great world leaders, whether good or bad, it always comes from charisma and their ability to persuade others. So you can really reach any desired outcome if you can create your own reality through your mind and through your speech.
You know what? Well, I spoke at your event the other day, and that was one of my key points is like, if you can be a good communicator and get messaging down and just be a good, fun person to be around, you're going to be able to tap into the right people, tap into the right information, and get access to certain things that you want that most people don't get access to. So it's so crazy you've learned all this early on. I'm curious to see where you'll be when you're my age at 23. But I also want to take a step back now to you in high school, when you were in school, and then even transitioning to online, right? How did you stay focused and not be distracted by all the youthful kind of desires and distractions?
Funny enough, I actually can't take too much credit for it. I just, for whatever reason, have never been drawn to any of the things that go on. I mean, I started plugging in this year with the level of success I've got now. I get more attention from people that I knew back in school, right? And obviously, they give you attention now, but not during the grind. So it's like, come on, man, I'm not interested in talking to you, right? But you start to realize that, wow, I took a step back at the exact right moment. The moment that I took a step back from all of these childhood friends was the moment that they got into drinking, alcohol, sleeping around, all of these things that obviously are distractions and not good for the soul. But for whatever reason, I stepped away right as they were happening. So never really fell into those temptations. Always have viewed them as just disgusting, not beneficial for really anything. I don't know. Growing up always was so annoyed by the average person, I would say. And not to say that in an arrogant way, but genuinely, I was like, dude, these people aren't doing anything. I want to create something. I want to potentially have an impact on someone or something, and nobody else seemed to view the world that way. So I kind of had to bridge the gap, and there was, maybe a 2-year period of complete loneliness. I think we were talking about that in the car earlier. There's a period where you separate yourself from the crowd, and they try to pull you back, so you have to really push yourself away. So now you're lonely, but you have to reach a certain level before you can interact with the people that you want to interact with. I wanted to hang out with entrepreneurs. They're not going to hang out with somebody that makes $2,000 a month washing cars. So I had to stick it out by myself for that period of time until I reached the threshold where I wanted to be at. So
yeah, we did talk about it in the car, and I want to touch on it even more because I know it's going to be very relatable to most people watching that have some sort of success right now. They're like, I'm so tempted to fall back and talk to my old friends from high school that are doing all those things, those actions and behaviors. But I just know as well, I'm so close, it feels like, to connecting with the big guys in this space that I've always wanted to connect with. What advice would you have for them to not fall back and get pulled in by the people I call crabs. But what advice would you give them to stay on their track and stay focused on moving forward instead of regressing back to old people?
Yeah. So here's the funny thing about detailing is your average clientele, just based on the service that you're offering, is the kind of person that you want to be around and be mentored by. When I first started, there was an individual that had a very nice Range Rover Defender, like a $150,000 car, and he owned a cleaning company that was doing about $300K a month in Austin. So I started asking him questions. Hey, what do you think about this? I would, sometimes give my services for free. I oftentimes would tell people that I viewed as successful and say, look, you're a business owner. If I give you a detailing service for free today, can I take you out to lunch? And I'll also pay for your lunch, by the way. And they always would say yes. So funny enough, just by positioning yourself in the kind of ecosystem and atmosphere where you'll meet these people, you're able to achieve that next level information. So, I mean, that's one thing is position yourself in such a way where those things come naturally so you don't have to strive. Second, people that make money don't want to always talk about business. I mean, the first night at the event that we hosted here, I was getting a little annoyed by some of the guys. First time they meet me, they're like, hey, what do you think about, this business thing or this? And I'm like, dude, I'm just another guy. I want to hang out with you as well. We can talk business, but let's start by getting to know one another. Let's become brothers. Let's, really have this camaraderie. And at the end of the day, everybody that makes money is like a human being.
For sure.
I mean, I told you early on that I was listening to all of these guys and they were gods in my head. And now that I'm in the space with some of them and have spoken to a lot of them, it's like, wow, I only spend 20% of my conversations with these people talking about business. Beyond that, I want to have friends, So relationships are super important, and you have to approach them from that angle as opposed to just transactional only is what I would say.
Yeah, because if it's just transactional, it's not going to have any depth. And without depth, it's not going to be long lasting. You're spot on with everything you're saying in regards to building high tier relationships and even just trying to make more friends, whatever the objection or the objective is, or even if there is no objective. Let's go jump into now. I had never asked you this off camera either, but was your dad, mother, family at all involved in business, or where did this come from?
So, full transparency, I didn't come from nothing. My dad has always made, decent money. I want to say when I was maybe 5 or 6, he started making 6 figures and hasn't made less since. But we always had a lot of financial struggles based on some really detrimental events that happened, health-wise for my mom and myself super early on. So never involved with business, but, we never struggled, quote unquote, financially. But there was always a lot of debt, and there was always that looming pressure of, hey, even though we make good money, the bills are tight this month and we're in a lot of debt. So I knew that early on. My dad has had side hustles, kind of throughout growing up, particularly furniture building. He's been 7 years deep into that, and he does pretty well with that. So he's always been into entrepreneurship, but has never known how to really take it beyond just himself. So I had a push early on to look, if you work hard, even by yourself, you can achieve a certain level of things that people that don't work hard can't have. So I was always introduced to that. Mom never worked growing up, but I would say a lot of it was primarily instinctual, but I also always had this feeling of like, once I hit a certain threshold, I didn't want to go below it. So I made a bet with my dad actually last year. I said, if I make more money than you, do I have to go to college? And he's like, no, if you make more than 100 grand this year, you don't have to go to college. We shook on it, and that year I made about 200. So I was in college at the time, actually online, and I dropped out earlier this year. So that was a good feeling. But I've kind of always had this mentality of, you hit one level, if you go beneath that level, you're a loser. And that's not necessarily true. Entrepreneurship is ups and downs. Don't ever get too high in the highs. Don't ever get too low in the lows. But, 5K a month, that's a new baseline. If I drop below that, I failed. We hit 10, now 5 looks awful.
Yeah.
Even though 5 last month I was on top of the world. Yeah. So, I've kind of always had that sort of outlook on things. And I guess it's what has kept me going over the past, 6 months or so. It's just what's next. And eventually it'll get old, but for right now it's not.
I think that's the best mindset though, is because so many people I feel like that I talk to, I don't want to say so many, but a lot of people get comfortable with where they're at. And I've fallen into this myself too, where you hit a certain level and you're like, all right, I could coast for 1, 2, maybe 3 weeks if I'm really pushing it. But whenever you see, oh shit, I'm not hitting new levels or striving to new heights, automatically you're regressing and falling back. And that, to me personally, gives me anxiety. It sounds like in your mind, you're very, very aggressive with your mindset, saying if I don't hit a new goal this month, then yeah, I'm a loser. I fucking failed. So for younger guys right now, right, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe it's a smart idea to start an online business or an in-person business first?
That's a great question. Anyone that does online business will tell you to start an online business. Anyone that does in-person business will tell you to start an in-person business. It's all about perspective. Of course, with that being said, I would tell you to start an in-person business because where have I made my money? In person. But I've also experienced the leverage of building out an ecosystem that helps other people in my industry. And now, just being upfront, that makes me more money than the detailing company ever did. Detailing company, I've seen $30,000 a month from that. It's been incredible, and we're still reaching new heights. I hope to hit 50 by the end of the year for that one. With scale, I've got multiple crews running back home. It's incredible. But there really does exist an opportunity in the online space that does not exist in person. In person, I have to deal with operational costs. I have to deal with the pressure washer breaking. Gotta go grab another one. I have to deal with employees quitting or asking for higher wages, things that don't really exist online. However, early on, I saw these online entrepreneurs and I said, this lifestyle that they've built is incredible. I want to get rich. Dang it, how do I start a dropshipping store? This is complicated. I gotta get my computer out. I gotta figure out, where do I learn this? I don't know anyone that's made money like this. So when you realize that a simple service-based business as a solo entrepreneur, somebody that works by themselves, can make 10, 20, even 30,000 a month if you really push your time. Yeah. That was incredible to me. And that's what I did. And obviously reaching a certain threshold, you meet others that are potentially at level 2. If I'm at level 1 doing 20,000 a month, I found somebody at level 2 just by where I'm at. And they say, hey, I can help you start an advertising agency for detailers. Great, let's do that. So now we have an ecosystem with an advertising agency, with a community. We do in-person trainings and events like we have right now, and we're working on an e-commerce product. I am getting into these businesses that I've seen change people's lives just from a simple start, and that's what I would recommend. But some people are tech savvy from the get-go, and I'm not. So do whatever makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. The last phrase, do whatever makes sense, in terms of finding your skill set that you're born with and trying to leverage that in the beginning at least. Because if you're good at one thing, all right, let's try and start with that and start in something that you're going to be leveraging that the most. Like if you're good at communication, all right, maybe you shouldn't be behind the computer doing all this weird fucking hard work.
Yeah.
You should be out there in sales perhaps, right? So you mentioned a good point. You're at that point, maybe level 1, and then you find someone at level 2. How important was finding a mentor for you in your success?
Ridiculously important. Literally couldn't happen without. And people in the space will always say, hey, pay for mentorship, pay for this, buy a course, learn from somebody better than you. A lot of times those people are trying to sell you their course. And obviously I have a product to sell and I would love to mentor those that want my help. But ultimately, get help from people that live the life that you want. Yep. And I was faced with, there was a time that my business almost failed last year, actually. We're coming up on the 12-month mark for that. And it was when I had 3 of my employees quit out from under me at the same time. And there was another detailer in my area that reached out and said, hey, I can help you hire out employees. I already have this crew and you have all the leads. So we'll merge together and we'll create this amazing business. And I said, that's awesome. Let's do it. So we entered into, a 2-week period of operating as business partners without formalizing anything, just as a test run, a dating phase. And I mentioned to him, I said, look, I've got, maybe 2,000 on YouTube right now. And I love the fact that people reach out to me and say, Hudson, you helped me do XYZ. I wouldn't have started my detailing business without you. I said, I love doing this. How can I integrate the YouTube channel and the content with what we're doing in the in-person business? And he said, well, if you want to be partners with me, you're going to have to get rid of your channel. I said, why? And he's like, well, you're showing people how easy it is to start a detailing business, which is going to create competitors as we expand nationwide. And I said, brother, anyone can take $500 and start a detailing business. I didn't change anyone's life. They changed their own. So, that created a lot of turmoil in the relationship. And at the same time, I met my now business partner and mentor who was friends with a lot of people in the space who were doing incredible numbers from content and from, selling info products, agency, all of these business models that I was interested in. And I met him around the same time that I met this other detailer. And now in hindsight, I really feel like I was presented with a blue pill and a red pill. I could have taken either path, and detailing felt comfortable. I felt like, man, if I just go with the other detailer, I already know that we can make money doing this. It's already proven out. I hadn't seen a single penny, maybe $200 from an affiliate link from a detailing company that sold products. I hadn't seen any more money than that from the internet. So I was like, man, there's a risk over here. But the biggest advice that I could give to anyone that's looking at a next level opportunity is position yourself to be able to take that opportunity.
Yep.
And the only way you're in a position to take a risk is if your bills are low. I still live at home. I have a nice car. Spoiler alert, my Range Rover is the same price as a new Honda Civic. So I have a nice car. Perception, right? Perception is reality. I have a perceived nice car, but I keep my bills extremely low because if you achieve, you can make $100,000 a year, $8,000 a month. But if you say, $100,000 a year, $8,000 a month, I'll get a $3,000 a month mortgage, incredible house. I'll have this awesome house that I love, and then I'll spend $1,000 on my car, and then I'll eat out and do all these things. Now your bills are pretty darn close to what you're making. So if you receive another opportunity, the risk, you're going to fall really far. There's no safety net. But by having low bills, your safety net is only 10 feet below. So I've always had this perception of, I want to be positioned in a place to take next level opportunity. So people see me on social media, they see what I'm doing on these trips for the Driven Elite events, and they're like, wow, look at this lifestyle that he's living. Brother, I don't live that lifestyle. I'm working hard at home, and I rent the shit out of my lifestyle when I go to these incredible places. We spent $20,000 in the last week. It's incredible. I spend $1,000 a month personally back home, my car, and some food. So any opportunity that presents itself, I'm on it. So mentor, extremely important. And I looked at the two options that I had, the blue pill and the red pill. And I said, you know what? If I go hard for 7 years, I'll be 25. And if I'm broke at 25, guess who else is broke? All the other 25-year-olds that are out of college. They're all poor. So what am I missing? If I'm broke at 25, I'll have 7 years business experience. I'll know what not to do. Yeah. They still haven't figured anything out. So why not go for it? And I can't imagine what would have happened if I chose the other thing, because I definitely made the right choice. And that's definitely by the grace of God. I had a lot of really good mentors in my life at that time spiritually that were praying through it with me and said, you know what? Take the red pill. So, yeah, down the rabbit hole we go, Neo.
That was a really good story and super valuable. Just painting the picture of faced with a challenge in a way of like, which way am I going to go? And you went the more risky path because you set yourself up to be in the position to do that. Yeah. And now look where we're at today, right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
I'm happy.
Yeah. And you're thinking of moving to Miami soon, right? Next year, give or take?
Yeah, probably January.
Yeah. So moving that quick, and you said last year, about 12 months ago, things almost went under. How have you remained humble in a way to see the wins and then go through those losses in the past without inflating your ego in a way?
What I don't understand is why you would not be humble. That's what I don't understand. So for me, when I was watching these guys online and I was idolizing them, I was like, wow, look at these people. They're doing all these incredible things. They're God to me, right? And then you meet them and you idolize them. You're like, whoa, look at these people. I just met them. Wow, that's crazy. But then once I entered into a situation where people began to idolize me, I get people that reach out and come to the events and I can tell are like shaking when they meet me. I'm like, dude, I'm a normal person. Why are they? I'm doing okay. They're nervous to meet me, Hudson Archer, making $200,000 a year. What is this? That doesn't make sense. I'm normal. So then I realized, well, if that can happen with their perception of me, that's exactly what I'm doing to these other people.
Yeah.
Everyone's normal. Everyone's the same. There's never a reason to consider anyone less than anyone else. No reason. So I think understanding that is very crucial. And that's only something that happened to me. I've only been able to see it this way because of the influence that I've been able to garner, which is, by the way, not huge, not yet. But also I think it's very important to keep yourself grounded with other people that will call you out on your shit. Just this weekend, I had a couple of guys in the group pull me aside and say, hey, Hudson, you said this at the event, and I don't think that was cool. I was like, oh shit, you're right. It wasn't cool. Let me go apologize to the people that I said this to. Let me tell this person, hey, by the way, that's not the standard that I'm going to set going forward. So I think it's very important to have a group of people that not only pull you up in entrepreneurship, but people that are spiritually grounded and in tune that will call you out. Because ultimately, if you can't take criticism or feedback, you might get to a very, very high, but what comes up must come down. The higher you are, the harder the fall. I've seen it happen. It's not a good sight to see someone fall. So I don't want that to happen.
It's keeping yourself surrounded by people that are being real with you, essentially, and holding you accountable, and not just being yes men, essentially.
No, I don't want to get glazed.
No.
The hell? No.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying in regards to surrounding yourself with the right people, because if you just have yes men around you, you're just going to be, oh yeah, I'm the fucking guy, I'm the king, essentially, which we don't want. Because then at one point you're going to make a very, very fatal mistake, as you said, and that's when the fall is going to be.
And you can do a lot of things correctly, but if you do one thing incorrectly and you have an ego, that fall is going to be big. Very big. I have seen people build an incredible career, one mistake, all over. No one trusts you anymore. And especially when you're online. Like, if you screw people, if I screwed over some detailing clients, right? I totally rip through their paint and, I don't give them a refund. I don't pay for damages, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Like, yes, it is, but it's not a huge deal in terms of my business going forward. Yeah. Maybe a negative review, maybe a lawsuit, we settle it, whatever. But if you do something publicly online that's like really bad, that shit stays with you forever. Because if I say, okay, entrepreneurship didn't work, I'm going to try to get hired. People are going to look at that. They're going to look at what you did, or you try to, come out with a new product. And if you sold a course and scammed people in the past and didn't deliver on your results, which how many times have we seen that happen? I can name several in my industry that are currently doing that. Actually, a course that I bought this time last year when my business was going under that completely ripped me off. 30-day money back guarantee. I asked for my deposit back after 24 hours and they didn't give it back. I had to go to the bank. Anyway, that being said, that sort of thing will stick with you if it's publicly online. So I think, keeping an open mind to those sorts of things is super important. I don't want to fall. No, not like that.
Let's change the pace a little bit and go back to growing a business, whether it's in person or online. I want to get your opinion. What do you believe is the best way to acquire new clients for a in-person business?
Positioning yourself where the customers are. Traditionally, we might say going door to door because there's customers behind the door. It's not true. Those are cold leads. Cold leads are people that you have to convince it's your idea, actually, to sell them. Knock, knock. Excuse me, sir, your car is dirty. Would you like to pay me $300? That's my idea. He might not want it done. He might like having it done at the $30 car wash. It might not be in his budget. He might not have time today. That is a cold lead. You have positioned yourself improperly.
Correct.
However, if you can get your website ranking number one on Google, if you can develop an effective advertising campaign, whether it be on social media or on Google, then when somebody searches car detailing near me, lawn care near me, roofing near me, if you pop up, you've popped up in front of people that want your service. That is called positioning. If you exist in a dry riverbed, you know that water has come through there in the past because it's a riverbed. You see the indentation, you say, water has been here, which means I can infer water will come and it'll flow right through here when it rains. So if I want to get wet, if I want to go swimming, I will figure out when is it going to rain and where is the riverbed. And I will sit in that riverbed and I'll have fun. Yeah. Exactly. Maybe fish a little bit. I don't know. Get some food, get some sushi. I don't know. But yeah, no, positioning is super important. So understanding effective marketing strategies, whether it be cold leads versus warm leads, I think that's probably the most important thing to understand. And once you understand that, it literally becomes a numbers game. Once you know how to run an effective advertising campaign, it's just, okay, I spent $800 last month and I got $8,000 worth of customers. That's a 10x.
That's a crazy ROAS.
It's probably, yeah, ROAS is great on these things, right? Now I spend $1,500 a month across the board on all of my advertising. It returns about 20, 25, 30 on a really good month just for detailing.
Wow.
So I'm going to come back from Scottsdale and we want to get to the next level. I want to get both vans fully booked out. Right now I have one booked out and one maybe half booked. So if I spend another $2,000 next month on advertising, I increase my budget by over 100% to $3,500 a month, I can expect to make more than I made last month because I understand that that ad campaign is effective. Put a little more money, turn the knob. So that's how it works.
You're dropping sauce right now.
Oh, it's sauce. And because this podcast is free, brother, you're not going to take it and you're not going to do anything with this information. But that's exactly what I tell everybody that pays for my help one-on-one. So disrespect it if you like.
That's like the weird thing, right? Is like People will watch something and immediately write off the value if it's free. That's why I don't like the concept of giving a lot of information away for free. Is because it's going to attract a lot of beginners, a lot of people with no money.
Yeah.
And the people are not going to respect the information. It could be life changing for them. But if it's not packaged correctly and their perceived value is low, they're not going to respect it or watch it. So let's go into that actually. How have you been able to package certain things for whether it be your info product, your mastermind, or even your actual service online or in person? What are some of the main takeaways you've learned to package things correctly to really speak to your target audience?
So whether in person or online,
Yeah.
competing at the bottom is the slowest way to the top. What does this mean? This means the lower ticket your service is. If you're cheap, if you're undercutting your market, you will find it extremely difficult to compete at the top. You cannot undercut the average market value of your product or service and expect to grow higher than everybody else. Because for detailing, if I say, okay, I'm going to offer what is usually a $200 service in my market for $50 because I want to get more customers, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to attract people that can't afford a luxury service but expect luxury results, which is not ideal. And two, there's always going to be somebody else that's going to have the same cheeky idea as you and say, well, if he's doing it for 50, I'll do it for 30. Let me get my toothbrush. I'll clean your car. A cheap job, never good. You never want to do this. That's actually something Jordan Welsh taught me. He told me, he said, competing at the bottom is the slowest way to the top, and it changed my business. When he told me that, I upgraded my prices. I went from, I think it was like maybe $145 for a full interior exterior detail, and I took that shit up to $200. And now our full exterior and interior detail on a sedan, small car, $275. The average market price in my area is about $225 for that service. So now we attract higher quality customers than we did in the past. They give us less headache, and they have cleaner cars and nicer cars. And now we have over 200 5-star reviews, highest rated service in the area. And the same thing goes with online business. Yep. The lowest quality individuals, well, think about it this way. If you pay for a mastermind, once again, I told you this. I was paying for $50 a month for this community, and everybody that was in there was the kind of person that could only afford $50 a month. It sounds self-explanatory, but somebody who can pay $50 a month for a mastermind is the kind of person that can pay $50 a month for a mastermind. The kind of person that can pay $3,000 a year for a mastermind is the kind of person that can pay $3,000 a year for a mastermind. It's a higher quality individual. Yeah. You would expect the person that values something like networking at $3,000 to be somebody worth networking with. So super important to understand those things. And I'm not interested in doing business with people that don't have any level of baseline money, because funny enough, the money exists in two spectrums, right? People that have almost no money value money a lot. Yeah. They're like, I have to get every single dollar, squeeze out the value. If I, feel like I've been wronged $10, I'm going to try to squeeze it back out. Worst kind of person to deal with. In the same way, someone that makes a lot of money but spends all of it, they act the same way, out of desperation. Mm-hmm. If you make $3,000 a month and you only spend $1,000 a month, you have 3 months worth of income that you can put in the bank in savings every single month. Whereas if you make $50,000 a month, but you spend $40,000 every single month, it's going to take you 4 months to save up 1 month worth of expenses. You can make $3,000 a month and be richer than somebody making $50,000 a month. It all depends on where you're allocating your funds. So it's so important to understand who is focused on money in a negative way and not do business with those people. And that could be on the low end, people that don't have anything, or it could be on the high end, people that have a lot, but they spend all of it, which means they're trying to squeeze value out of every interaction because their margin on life is this low. So not the kind of person you want to be or surround yourself with.
Gems, dude. That's so true. That's so true. I want to know one of the stories, maybe when either it was the beginning or even maybe something recent, where you came across a luxury client and maybe they introduced you to other friends of theirs to detail their cars too. So first, how did you come in contact with this person? How did you build a relationship for them to trust you and want to introduce you to their friends?
One, provide an incredible service, obviously. Yep. 2, make a point to treat that individual like they're worth more than money. Mm-hmm. So when I have a high-end client, say they've got a G-Wagon or a Porsche or a Lambo, whatever it is they have, you want to ask them questions as if they're somebody else, just some normal person. Notice things. People like to be noticed. Hey, I like your shoes. That goes a long way. Actually, moreover, somebody has a kid. Actually, early on, one of my clients, when I was telling you about that, had this $300,000 a month cleaning business that I wanted to be mentored by. He had a kid that was playing soccer. His soccer gear was in the back. How long has your kid been playing soccer? Is he doing well? I've got another client that was paying me $460 a month for detailing for a little over a year, and now their travel schedule's, ridiculous, so we don't do this anymore as often. But her kids were competing at a high level in ice skating. Super niche thing. I took an interest in it. How was your kids' competition? Okay, you're going up for a road trip. That's why I'm here detailing it, because you're about to travel across country. What division are they in? Ask these questions. Understand people at a personal level, and they will want to do business with you at a personal level.
Correct.
People do business with people that they like, which is why when they teach you how to do sales for any sort of company, the first thing that they teach you is interact with that person on a personal level before you get to the pitch.
Yep.
Ask them personal questions. Get to know them. People don't do business with people they don't trust. It doesn't matter how quality or good or your service is. If you don't have any level of baseline relationship with these people, why would they choose you over somebody else that can offer a good product or service? It's not hard to clean a car. It's easy, actually. So if you don't know how to do it, 10 minutes on YouTube, you'll figure it out. Anyone can clean a car. So why would they go with you over somebody else that can also clean a car? How do you present yourself? How are you dressed? Are you wearing nice clothes? How do you speak? Once again, the greatest money-making skill that you can have, especially in the age of AI, where execution is becoming extremely cheap, is being able to effectively formulate and articulate one's thoughts. If you can't communicate, start reading, start listening, start practicing, start conversing with people. That's the biggest thing that I've learned over the past 2 years. Everything else is cheap. Everything else is easy. It's easy to hire somebody to go clean a car. What's difficult is client calls you and says, hey, they did a negative job. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to someone's complaint? Better yet, how do you position yourself in such a way where if they do have a negative interaction, they come to you in an open and honest way and say, hey, I want to tell you this as feedback. I'm not upset because I like you already. I know that you're a good person. I just want to give you feedback to make your business better. We have had clients that we have done terrible jobs for. I mean, I've seen the pictures. The guys missed something. How did they miss that? But instead of getting mad at my guys, I go, okay, so you guys missed that. It happens. We're all human. Client, hey, I would love to make this right for you. That turns into a 5-star review and recurring customers. We actually have one we're going to service next week. That our first ever detail for him, we did a shit job. And now he's on a monthly schedule. Because of how I chose to interact with this individual. Because people value good people over a good service, in my opinion.
You're like it's like you're reading my thoughts with this too, and everything I was saying in a way the other day at the other house. People, you can't sell a service anymore. You have to sell yourself with the service, and you lead with yourself, with your personality and your beliefs and the way you carry yourself, and then you deliver a good service, of course. That's actually a really good way to kind of fail safe yourself. Is be super good, like as a human, and then if whether you or your team messes up once in a while, they're not going to be mad at you. They're going to be like, hey, I know what happens, type thing. Which is a really good way to position yourself, which is something you've been talking about often here tonight, and it's one of the most important things, obviously, whether it's an in-person business or online, is positioning. So let's jump into how you packaged and launched your mastermind, because I think it's very interesting, right? So many people are like, I'm gonna launch a webinar, I'm gonna launch a online course, or I'm gonna host my own mastermind. How did you decide that, okay, I'm that guy now that is capable of hosting a mastermind and positively impacting other guys at a great level?
Same way I started washing cars. A small budget and a little bit of effort. But I'll tell you this, courses are a terrible product. Why? Because execution is extremely cheap. It's very easy for anyone to make a video series and say, hey, this is worth $1,000. Please pay me $1,000 for a video series. What is important is what we've been talking about, which is relationships, one-on-one relationships. So the way that I see everybody launch an info product, course, community, whatever the case may be, is I'm going to package this information. I'm going to go on the internet. I'm going to talk like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to rent some cars. I'm going to rent a watch. We're going to do some cool things, make some cool content. And then I'm going to sell a high ticket info product. And then I'm going to offload all of the work inside of the info product to coaches that I'm paying $2,000 a month that don't know what they're talking about. So now you enter into a situation where you pay $1,000 for a product to be coached by an influencer, and then you get there and there's just some dude sitting there like, hey, I'm also trying to figure this out, but I'm quote unquote your coach now. I've seen it happen many times. So once again, relationship first. It doesn't matter how good the product is. It matters how good you are to the person. So early on, we sold low ticket, $500. And that was a year access to our community called the Driven Elite.
Wow.
And instead of having a series of videos, quote unquote, to, give them a course, it was, hey, I'll just work with you whenever you need. Like, just hit me up. I'll help you. You've already seen that I'm doing, at the time I was doing maybe $15,000 a month detailing, selling to people that are, not doing that. If you need my help, I'm here. I didn't have to make anything. I just was like, look, I'm going to treat you like a human being, and I'm going to actually have your best interest at heart. So we did that for about 30 members. So, that's some good money on the side. But what that did is it created an ecosystem where at the first event, we had 15 out of our 30 members show up that were all ecstatic to be there because they had received $20,000 worth of value for $500. Because if you can go from $0 to $10,000 a month in 6 months like that with some information, that's at least worth $20, $30, maybe even $40,000. We give it at $500. They're there, they're ecstatic. And now we have positive word of mouth. Yep. And we have people that believe in the product so much that when a new member comes in, I have to do less work. Yep. Yes, I'm still helping the new member. However, these other people are so excited about the community because they've become extremely tight. They've seen how it works that they want to see the other person succeed. So then we ramp that up, and then we have, at this point, through building an incredible foundation of people, valuing people first, we've created an ecosystem where not only do they get community access, but they get one-on-one help personalized based on wherever they're at. We've taken people from $10,000 a month by themselves to automating that and getting to $20,000 a month with vans and employees and not having to detail. We've done that. And we can still take people from baseline up to where they want to be as a solopreneur through one-on-one help, the incredible community. But we also have an agency that's underlying that takes care of all the advertising, because a lot of people are going to struggle to position themselves in the flow of the market. So if we can do that for you, how valuable is that? So we have that as well. We have business funding. And now we're launching our own line of e-commerce products. Yep. So we're going to be able to fund people's businesses with our products at a much lower cost than if they were to buy elsewhere. So we've created this ecosystem that is now worth high ticket that everyone is thriving. We come to Driven Elite 2 here in Scottsdale, and the 15 people that were at the last event showed up for the next one because the community is genuinely that strong. They loved the first event, so they're here. So we had those original 15 come, plus a bunch of others, and all of the original 15 are at least twice as good as they were 3 months ago. We hosted the first one at the start of summer. Our average demographic of people at that event, we're doing about 4,000 or 5,000 a month. There was not a single person from the first event that came to this one that was under 10,000 in a 90-day period.
So scaling up the info products, scaling up the in-person detailing, what are the next goals over the next 6 to 12 months for both your businesses?
So ultimately, like we've talked about in the whole conversation here, is understanding that the online business has more leverage, but that doesn't mean that we trash what's actually been built in the real world. Because the real world business is what allows for the platform for me to, one, make an impact on the people that I really have come to care about and really want to see succeed. But two, it provides the foundation to make money on the internet. Because everyone that's trying to sell, potentially a dropshipping course or some of these things, the only content they can make for themselves is waking up in the morning, getting behind the laptop, and maybe going to the gym and a nice dinner, whatever. And it gets repetitive for every person in the space. Whereas in my case, it's, well, let me show you what the process looks like start to finish of taking care of a detail. How do I take care of my clients? These are things that I can make content on every single day. So scaling up the in-person business provides a couple things. One, it provides proof of concept, showing, hey, I can actually show people how to do what I'm doing. And if I'm not actually walking the walk, I have no right to talk the talk, obviously. And I'm going to reach a threshold where I've taught enough people how to go from $0 to $10,000 a month that the question is, Okay, how about we take those people that have done 10K a month, 20K a month, and teach them how to scale up and take over their whole city? 5 detailing vans, a full shop, doing high ticket services at their shop location, having 10, 15, 20 employees. And those are things that I currently cannot teach. I can teach how to get your first couple employees. I can teach how to scale up a little bit. But if I truly wish to make an impact on the community, I have to figure these things out first. And by establishing kind of the baseline that I already have, I'm fully confident that I can achieve those things. But wouldn't it be so terrible of me to just say, I'll call it a day. I'm making enough money. I'll call it a day, and I'll pretend like I'll take old clips of me, from 6 months ago and pretend like I'm still doing the stuff that I'm talking about doing. That would be terrible. So continuing to build that out. You mentioned earlier that the goal is Miami in January. And not to live the flashy lifestyle, but to genuinely be around the people that have been a big part of my journey and have changed my life so far, because we've already understood that to achieve next level, you have to have next level information. You are where you're at right now because of the information that you have received, whether it be from your parents, your friends, all of these things. That's why people born into poverty usually stay in poverty. The biggest indicator of your success is your zip code. Why? Because those are the people that you're around. If you're stuck with those people, you will be stuck with the results and the outcomes that those people have. So choosing your mentors wisely is incredibly important. So if I can move there and, once again, keep my bills low, not do what everybody else does. Because if I'm making $100,000, $200,000 a month in Miami with, a detail shop, which I'm going to open another one there, I'm about to have my business back home fully automated, right? So I'll automate that. I'll continue growing it at a good pace. I'll build a shop and another ecosystem there in Miami. And then I'll also be running the ad agency. I'll have the info product. I'll have all of these things. If I get myself to $200,000 a month and I'm balling out, say I'm spending $150,000, my margin is going to be extremely low. Yeah. And then I won't be able to take the next opportunity. So if I can go there and do it unlike anybody else in the space does Miami, I'll be able to actually squeeze value out of it without reaping any of those negative consequences that come from it. So, moving out there, being around those people, scaling up the info product in this way, and then also building an incredible business there as well to provide jobs for good people there and be able to create incredible content, because obviously the people there have crazier cars than in Austin. Yeah. So we'll have incredible content, which we can continue using to promote the brand and all of these things. And then, I'm liking Scottsdale, brother. So maybe coming back here at some point and buying a house would be incredible. It's been a wonderful time out here. So meeting folks like yourself, super sick, and just the whole atmosphere. People say Arizona's hot. Texas is the same heat, but, with some humidity. So it's actually better here. It's incredible.
Yeah, I got no complaints out here. It's just a little hot. Everything else, pristine. I loved what you just said a moment ago about the zip code thing. Like, tell me your zip code and I'll tell you where you'll be at. So how important do you think environment is tied with your actual drive as an individual to be successful?
So the one thing that we can understand from anybody that achieves any level of success beyond the average person is that regardless of where they start, they usually end up in a better situation, actually, always. Drive can outweigh where you start. However, if you start in a better position, you can afford to have less drive, because things will be handed to you. So it's a combination. I didn't start from bottom. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, it's all me. This is my drive. I've done all of these things. Yes, I've worked incredibly hard. Everybody else my age is doing nothing. It's ridiculous. It's getting really frustrating. But that doesn't mean that I have the most drive out of anybody. I know people that came from absolutely nothing. So it's a combination, but your positioning and your atmosphere is absolutely everything. The 5 people you spend the most time with, you become the average of. So why not average out to be better than average?
It's the people you're surrounded with, and then now even on the digital age, the people's content you're consuming. Because they're, you said when you were back home, you would watch these same people on repeat, and that formulated your new world perspective to become the individual that you are right now, right? Yeah. So surrounding yourself with those that are at least one step ahead of you is mandatory to break out of any situation where you're at. And even if you're coasting at a good level, you still need to learn and be constantly educating yourself and self-developing to get to the next level. Otherwise, you'll just coast and regress and get distracted by many different vices, whatever that may be for you. So, Hudson, is there anything last you want to go tell the people? What do you got coming up? I know you have your e-commerce product line coming out soon, specifically for car detailers. You want to go into that real quick?
Yeah, so we're launching those this month, actually. We just ordered our first round of supplies, and yeah, we're going into e-commerce. My business partner has done very well in e-com, so I've been grateful enough to connect with somebody that has done something that I have wanted to do, but I'm not tech savvy, so he knows how to do it. We're going to build that up, we're going to scale it up, and we're going to use it as not only a way to make additional money, but as a way to gain additional exposure. Execution is cheap. What is difficult is how you communicate and how much exposure you get and how you resonate with people. So if we can use a $10 product, maybe a bottle of soap, as a entry point to get more distribution and impact more people, then that's a good thing. So we'll do it that way.
Oh, I'm really excited to see what you have in the future. At such a young age, you're miles ahead even people that are in their early 20s. So be proud of yourself.
Appreciate it, brother.
And always, you're already set, bro. You got the right mind, you got the right people, you're chilling. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was an honor having Hudson on, getting to learn more about him, his business, and his overall mindset and perspective on life. So follow his Instagram. It's on the screen right now. And as always, guys, remember, don't be motivated, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next video.